Thank you for joining me here today on today's Wednesday Word of Wisdom. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague, Sterling Martin. We had a conversation today about leaders, leadership, and really some of the key traits and qualities that we commonly find in people who have developed a deep sense of respect with those around them. Now, before you join the conversation, I want to ask you to subscribe to this video. You can also follow me on social media. You can get these as blog posts or also as a podcast if you would prefer just to listen to the audio. All the links you need are right here. All right, let's dive right in. All right, welcome to this Wednesday Word of Wisdom. Today I am joined by a friend and colleague, Sterling Martin. So I just want to thank you for being here with me today.
And thank you, Michelle.
Today we are going to talk a little bit about leadership and some of the qualities that make for a successful leader, I would say, because it's somebody who's respected, somebody who's valued, somebody who has influence in our lives. And it seems that there are a few common characteristics or common traits that seem to come alongside those types of people that we see in our world. I mean, we live in a world right now where, character, integrity, authenticity seem to be on a decline. It seems to be a lot more lacking these days. It's traits that are rarer and rarer to find in a really good leader. And yet we still find people out there who embody those traits and who just astound us with, you'll walk into their presence and you want to be there and you want to work hard for the organization. You don't want to leave because you see so much value in what they're doing, and
you find your purpose within the organization. And once you find purpose in the organization, you want to stay. And I've even had events where you find such a good purpose in what you're doing that you do it for free. You don't want to tell them you're going to do it for free because then you would maybe have to do it for free. But if you get that drive, then that's so cool. And that it usually comes because of the leader, not because of the organization. In fact, if you're going to do it for free, you're there for the leader and for the greater purpose, not for what you're going to get from it.
Yeah, it's a person thing, right? It's a connection to that purpose and to that person and to what they value, to their vision.
And your values and your vision. And they align, they come together. So you can buy into that. You can buy into what they're doing. And it becomes what you want in life. And it becomes a greater purpose for you.
Absolutely. As we were brainstorming what some of these character traits would look like in the leaders that we respect and that we allow to influence us, somebody who is approachable, somebody who's accessible, somebody who is willing to connect with you as an employee, as
a person. When I ran a big organization, the one thing I always did personally was, and John Maxwell talks about a lot, is walk slowly through the crowd. And I would walk slowly down hallways and I would get people coming up to me and asking me questions or even just saying hello. And that created that engagement, but it allowed them time to ask questions and to deal with me as their leader. I had a boss, wonderful lady, but she used to walk 800 miles an hour. And people did feel disengaged because everyone wants a leader at some point in life, and everyone needs a leader at some point in life. But if that leader, and you said it wonderfully, got to be accessible, reachable, you got to be able to connect with them. Not going out for dinner or coffee or weekends with the family, but connect on that level for the purpose you're there.
Yeah, when they're racing down the hallways, you feel like they're too busy for me. I'm not important enough for them to stop and hear what I have to say. Or
we believe their job is so important, but as a leader, the job is to be with the people, for the people. Leaders develop people, leaders grow organizations through people, not through processes.
come up with was that they need to be passionate about what they do, passionate about their vision, their mission, passionate about the organization.
Actually, that's a kind of a cool statement that you bring that up, because that's so very true. I've worked with people who weren't passionate about what they did, and it was like, okay, this is so painful, because you can tell if they're not bought into it, why should I buy into it? But when they've got that passion, it's fun watching them, because then you gain their energy, and it just grows. It grows what you're doing. It can cause explosive growth if done right.
And I mean, this doesn't even have to necessarily be just for an organization. This is just people in general.
For a family.
People in general. Like if you want to be highly respected, you need to be approachable.
Absolutely.
If you want to be highly respected, you need to have something that you're passionate about. If you're humdrum every day, nobody wants to talk to you.
No, not at all.
You've got passion and something that you're striving for and going after. People are excited to talk to you because you're excited.
You'll even have people listening on the side that are not part of the conversation if they know your passion, because it's like, okay, they're going to say something that's cool, and I want to learn, or I want to grow, or I want to see. Because people, it's just our instinct. We want to be better. We want to do more.
And that energy just creates more energy.
It does.
Right? We talked about ability to be vulnerable.
Vulnerability as a leader, it used to be that the leader was up there, they were out there and untouchable. But we all know, and it doesn't matter if you're leading a family or a big organization, we all make mistakes. And being vulnerable, admitting mistakes, showing that you are human, will get people to embrace you. Once they know that, okay, they're going to make mistakes and I can come and help and grow it and make it better, they buy into you as a person. But then they also know that when they make a mistake, your hand is going to be there reaching out and helping them. And so there'll be a lot more risk taken to grow. And in order to change anything, you've got to take a risk. So if you want to grow a company, grow a family, grow an organization, you've got to have risk. And with risk comes vulnerability. And the ability to say, that didn't go quite the way we hoped it would. Be flexible, be organic, and move on.
Well, people like people who are authentic, right? People like people who are just real. They're real people. They don't do everything perfect. They're real people, right? What we talked about is the ability to be accountable.
Yeah, and I think this is, in some organizations it's very poorly done, in others it's quite well done. But the leader's got to be accountable. And at the end of the day, the leader's accountable, that they're ultimately responsible for what goes on, and hold on to that accountability. And then while you're holding on to that accountability, you're also accountable to pass credit on to your people, so they know that they're appreciated, their work is valued. Actually, their work is seen. Some people don't even know their work is seen. And but we've got to be accountable and take ownership for what we do. And that's part of that vulnerability too. And I think they go hand in hand, because we can't be accountable if we're not going to be vulnerable. And if we're going to be vulnerable, we have to be accountable. So they roll together.
Absolutely. And that accountability, right? We talk about this on our podcast.
We do.
But in that accountability, we have to take responsibility for messages we send, messages we receive verbally, or, all of that. And
our body language.
To be aware of how we're connecting with people and how we're communicating, and be accountable to that, right? Be accountable to disconnects too.
Leaders, people, family, fathers and mothers have got to be accountable to those who follow them.
What we talked about is the ability for somebody to walk the talk, to practice what they preach, right? That ability to set an example, to be willing to sacrifice. I read the article in Forbes magazine about the garbage work, right? So I guess in the article, the story went that this guy was a low-level employee, had a task he had to do. Big boss comes out. He's afraid he's going to get scolded for not working fast enough. And turns out what the boss wound up doing instead was roll up his sleeves, and goes, okay, where do you want me? What do you want me to do? And for the next 3 hours, they worked at this task. They didn't necessarily chat and have this deep connection, but they got the job done and they did it together. And it increased this employee's sense of buy-in, of connection to the boss to the company to, just because he got down into the muck with him. And
He knew
did
he
the work
wasn't
with him.
alone. How many employees think that they're just doing a job and they're alone? And when you see your boss, that's a cool story. As an employee or as a follower, when we know that we've got our leader there, that they have our back, that when times get tough, they're there, like they're truly there, we feel safer. And we allow ourselves to be accountable, to be vulnerable. It creates all of that.
Yeah, so we just have to be willing to get down into the muck with people, right? And walk with them through it.
Walk that talk.
And final quality that we talked about was gratefulness. And I think that gratefulness is such a huge one, because there is a big piece of that ability to see value in everyone, in every job, in everything that needs to be done. And when the leader, when the boss, when you can see value in what you're doing, see value in what other people are doing, it really creates that deeper connection with you, with the people around you.
It does. And, at the end of the day, if a boss just says, as the employee leaves, not, thank you, team, but to each individual, to point out how they made a difference to that team. And it may be tiny, or it could be a huge thing. But with each one, because they know they're recognized, they know their work is recognized, but also it gives them purpose for being there. If we are grateful to one another, then we want to come back too and do that work. At an entry-level job, over a few times over my life, but when you come in and when the team is strong and they're thanking each other, and the boss is, good work, and you see the boss coming around and talking to you every once in a while, but it's just a conversation. It's like, how are you doing? What can I do to help? You think, I just want to be here. Because all the things we talked about, they're accessible, connected, they're passionate, they're vulnerable, they're accountable, and they're grateful for what I do. And then that gets you to buy in, to be there.
Makes you feel seen.
It makes you feel absolutely seen.
I think it's such an important thing, because when we do things and we don't feel like anybody cares or anybody even sees it, we go, what's the point? In some of the youth I work with, we talk about self-image. And you can say, where is this going? But when you're seen and they're grateful, your self-image improves. And that creates confidence. Just by these little points and being grateful and supporting that person will make them better. And as they're getting better, bosses and leaders, they're going to make you better. And then when you get better and you make them better, you've got nowhere but up to go. And it can be amazing what you can accomplish. Yeah, when you feel that person is raising you up, they're seeing what you do, they're grateful for what you do, and you're elevating to that next level, you can't help but respect this person.
Yeah, absolutely.
They pushed you there, and it stands out in your mind as this huge positive influencer in your life.
Yep.
So the traits that we talked into were that accessible, that approachable, passionate, being able to be vulnerable, accountable, practicing what we preach and showing up, right? And that gratefulness.
That's an amazing formula for families, for organizations, for individuals who want to be in a leadership role, but we all have the ability to influence. So it's amazing for all of us. It's a tool for every person.
So if you want to be a person of influence, if you want to be a person who carries a bit of sway, if you want to be a person who's respected, these 6 qualities will get you there.
The road to success.
The cool thing is that every single one of them is learnable. They're not just innate character traits that you were born with. You learn this.
Absolutely. Good point.
Thank you so much for joining me for this.
Thank you, Michelle. I enjoy this.
It was a lot of fun.
It was, yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So stay tuned, because we are going to be having a series of leadership podcasts for you coming up in this fall with Sterling and myself, and they are full of incredible nuggets. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much to Sterling for having joined me in this conversation. When we learn what it really takes to build know, like, and trust with the people around us, we start to build a deep sense of respect. We earn that sense of respect when we can be accountable, when we can be vulnerable, when we can do the dirty work, the garbage work with people, when we can intentionally be accessible, be grateful, and really show the people around us that they matter, that what they contribute to our lives matters. You will take yourself from average to extraordinary. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful week.
Get your daily dose of motivation on the Motivational Moments with Michelle podcast. In Motivation with Michelle podcast, you'll get encouraging, uplifting, and life-changing wisdom that will transform your world at your fingertips, 24 hours a day. Get a fuller, deeper revelation of the tools you can implement to see incredible transformation in your life from Michelle Newstetter's powerful teachings. Tune in whenever you need to be edified, uplifted, or a dose of motivation, no matter where you are. Subscribe to Motivational Moments with Michelle podcast with Michelle Newstetter today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud.